On October 26, 2024, a 13-second video would cost Zikoya Johnson Echols her life. The dance you just watched? That's what her husband saw. And within hours, the 36-year-old nurse and mother of two would be found dead behind the wheel of her crashed car, a bullet wound in her abdomen, her desperate attempt to reach the hospital ending in tragedy. But here's what nobody can agree on. Was this dance innocent fun with an old classmate, or a public betrayal that crossed a line no married woman should cross? And when her 50-year-old husband demanded to see her phone and she refused, was that the moment this marriage was truly over? This is Hattiesburg, Mississippi, a small town where everybody knows your business, where family history matters, where a Facebook Live video can travel through an entire community in minutes. And on that Saturday morning, when police responded to what they thought was just another car accident on Park Place Avenue, they had no idea they were walking into a crime scene.
First at 10, a Hattiesburg woman is dead and an investigation is underway after a car crashed into a building this morning. Welcome in, I'm Keandra Malloy. Now, details are limited, but here's what we know so far. The Hattiesburg Police Department says officers responded to a report of a vehicle crash into a building on Park Place Avenue around 10 a.m. When officers arrived, they found this scene on your screen right now. You can see a portion of that security fence was down. Now, HPD says officers found a driver unresponsive inside her vehicle. She was pronounced dead on the scene. Now, the Lamar County coroner identified the deceased as 36-year-old Zikoya Johnson Echols. Her body is being sent to the Mississippi State Crime Lab in Biloxi for examination. No others were injured. HPD says this is an ongoing investigation.
A car accident. That's what it looked like. A silver sedan had veered wildly off the road, mounted the sidewalk, crashed through an iron fence, and slammed into a brick outbuilding. The airbags had deployed. The front end was crumpled. But when paramedics approached the driver's seat, they found something that changed everything. A gunshot wound. Zikoya Johnson Echols hadn't died in a car crash. She'd been shot. And she'd been trying to save her own life when she lost control of that vehicle. The question was simple. Who pulled the trigger? The answer came faster than anyone expected. Born Zikoya Johnson, she grew up in the small town of Foxworth, Mississippi. She graduated from West Marion High School in 2006, and even back then, people remembered her for her smile. That infectious, warm smile that made everyone around her feel welcome. Zikoya didn't just talk about helping people, she lived it. She volunteered at blood drives. She stayed late after school events to clean up. She was the girl who made sure nobody felt left out. By her early 30s, Zikoya had become a licensed practical nurse, and she was good at it. She worked long, grueling double shifts at the hospital because she had two children to provide for, a boy and a girl. And those kids, they were her world.
A message from my daughter. In my eyes, there's no one that can equal your beauty. No word that can describe how much you mean to me. Nothing that can lessen my love for you, as you have it now and for eternity.
That was the relationship Zikoya had with her children. Pure love. Unwavering support. She attended every school function, every recital, every dance class. She worked herself to exhaustion to pay for those dance lessons, for school supplies, for family vacations. Her children didn't just love her, they idolized her. But being a great mother doesn't automatically make you a great wife. And that's where this story gets complicated. Zikoya met Kenrod Cortez Echols when she was a single mother trying to build a life for her children. He was 14 years older than her. 50 years old to her 36. And at first, he seemed like everything she'd been looking for. Supportive, loving, stable. They married after a brief courtship, and their social media told the story of a perfect couple. Matching shirts on the beach, smiles on cruises, a proposal that looked straight out of a romantic movie. To the outside world, Kenrod and Zikoya Echols had it all. But social media lies, and behind those filtered photos, behind those carefully curated posts, something darker was growing. Kenrod's love came with conditions. His affection came with control. And his jealousy? That was always there, simmering just below the surface, waiting for the right moment to explode. The night of the dance, Zikoya was at a lounge off U.S. Highway 98. An old classmate was there. Music was playing. And in what she probably thought was a harmless moment, Zikoya started dancing with him. Someone pulled out their phone. They went live on Facebook. 13 seconds. That's all it was. Now let me be clear about something. Because the people who watched this video, they had opinions, strong ones, and they weren't quiet about it. Some people saw two old friends having fun. Others saw a married woman disrespecting her vows. Some called it innocent. Others called it grinding. Body to body. Inappropriate. Reckless. And you know what? Both sides have a point. Because the truth is complicated. What looks innocent to one person looks like betrayal to another. And when you're married to a man who's already jealous, who's already possessive, who's already watching your every move, that 13-second video becomes a weapon. When Kenrod saw that video, he didn't see his wife having fun. He saw public humiliation. He saw his wife's body pressed against another man. He saw betrayal playing out for their entire community to witness, and he replayed it over and over, letting that jealousy build, letting that rage grow, until he couldn't see anything else. The morning of October 26th started with a confrontation. Kenrod had watched that video too many times. He'd let it consume him completely. And when Zikoya woke up that Saturday morning, she walked into a storm. He demanded to see her phone. He wanted to know who she'd been talking to, what she'd been saying, if that dance was just the beginning of something more. And Zikoya? She said no. That refusal? That's what pushed this situation over the edge. The argument escalated. Voices got louder. Anger turned to rage. And then Kenrod did something he could never take back. "You think you could just do whatever you want," he shouted, pacing across the living room. "You are mine. Do you understand that?" Zikoya, exhausted by the constant tension, refused to back down. "I'm not doing this with you, Ken. It was only a dance." But her defiance only fueled his rage further. He grabbed his gun, and he made the most chilling threat imaginable. He was going to end her. The bullet struck Zikoya in her right abdomen. It severed a major artery before exiting through her lower back. The pain was immediate, excruciating. But Zikoya was a fighter, and she had 2 children who needed her. In sheer survival mode, she staggered outside barefoot, clutching her car keys. Her vision was already starting to blur. Blood was pouring from the wound. But her instinct to live, to get to help, to make it back to her children kicked in with force. She climbed into the driver's seat of her car, started the engine, and floored the accelerator toward Merit Health, just 6 blocks northeast. 6 blocks. That's all she had to go. But with every second that passed, she was losing more blood. Her vision got darker. Her hands got weaker. The car started drifting left, mounting the sidewalk, plowing through that iron fence. The airbags deployed. The car stopped. And Zikoya Johnson Echols, the devoted mother who worked double shifts to pay for dance lessons, who never missed a recital, who was loved by her children more than anything in this world, took her last breath alone in that driver's seat. She never made it to the hospital.
A man has been arrested after admitting to killing his wife. Around 10 a.m. on October 26th, Hattiesburg police responded to a call in the 0 block of Park Place Avenue after a vehicle crashed into a building, and upon arrival, officers found the driver deceased with a gunshot wound to the chest. 50-year-old Kenrod Cortez Echols contacted authorities and admitted to shooting the victim, who was his wife. Now, Echols is now being charged with first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and malicious mischief, and is being held in the Forest County Jail. Now, this is still an ongoing investigation.
While investigators were still processing the crash scene, still trying to piece together what happened, Kenrod made a phone call. Calm, almost detached. Like he was reporting a fender bender instead of the murder of his own wife. "I shot her," he admitted. "I am the one you were looking for." Just like that. No emotion, no remorse. Just a simple confession that sealed his fate. Police found Kenrod in Columbia, Mississippi. He was arrested without incident. And when they booked him into the Forest County Jail, they charged him with first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and malicious mischief. His booking photo showed a heavy-set man with his eyes cast down. Whether it was regret or just the reality of what he'd done finally hitting him, nobody knows. But the damage was done. Zikoya was gone. And 2 children had just lost their mother to a moment of uncontrollable rage.
Flipping today, a Pine Belt man is in custody, charged in the death of his wife. Welcome in, I'm Keandra Malloy. We know now she was found with an apparent gun wound after her vehicle crashed into a building yesterday. Now take a look at your screen. This is 50-year-old Kenrod Echols of Columbia. He has been charged with first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and malicious mischief. That's in connection to the death of 36-year-old Zikoya Johnson Echols. The Hattiesburg Police Department says Kenrod and Zikoya were married. Lamar County Coroner confirmed Zikoya's identity last night and says her body is being sent to the Mississippi State Crime Lab in Biloxi. Now here's what we've learned so far about the This is the video of the scene on Park Place Avenue where HPD says officers responded to a report of a vehicle crashing into a building Saturday morning. Now, originally, Hattiesburg police said Zikoya was found unresponsive in her vehicle and pronounced on the scene. Today, HPD confirmed she was found unresponsive with an apparent gun wound to her abdomen. Authorities say Kenrod contacted them shortly after her body was found, admitting to his involvement in the Now, HPD says this is an ongoing investigation. The WDAM-7 is on your side with these developments in this case. We will bring you the latest news on air and online.
During the investigation, police discovered something disturbing. Kenrod had actually tried to stage the crash scene to make it look like Zikoya's death was an accident. He'd manipulated the evidence to cover up what he'd done. But the gunshot wound made the truth inescapable. At his arraignment in Hattiesburg Municipal Court, the judge set Kenrod's bond at $800,000. His attorney entered a plea of not guilty on his behalf, but the evidence was overwhelming. Kenrod's own confession, the forensic analysis of the crash site, the bullet wound, the staging.
50-year-old Kenrod Cortez Echols had his bond set at $800,000 during his initial appearance in Hattiesburg Municipal Court today. He faces 3 charges: first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and malicious mischief. His wife, Zikoya Johnson Echols, was found around 10 a.m. Saturday on Park Place Avenue. She was in a vehicle that had crashed into a building there.
In Mississippi, first-degree murder carries a potential sentence of life imprisonment. And if convicted, Kenrod would likely spend the rest of his life behind bars. But what about the true victims of this tragedy? What about Zikoya's children? The shock of Zikoya's death sent ripples of grief through Hattiesburg. This tight-knit community was rocked by the loss of such a kind and loving person. Zikoya was known for her nurturing nature, not only as a mother, but also as a friend and neighbor. A homegoing service was held in Columbia, where dozens gathered to remember Zikoya's bright personality and her impact on those around her. Her daughter, still in her teenage years, spoke emotionally about the bond they shared. Candlelight vigils were held across the town. Gatherings at local churches offered moments of reflection and support for those affected by the tragedy. The community did what they could to support Zikoya's children, ensuring that they would continue to receive the care and love their mother had always provided. But let's be honest about something. Those children lost both parents that day, one to death, one to prison, and no amount of community support can replace what they lost. They'll grow up without their mother's smile at their recitals, without her encouragement at their dance classes, without her working double shifts to make sure they had everything they needed. And they'll grow up knowing that their father is the reason why. Zikoya's story has become a painful reminder of the devastating consequences of domestic violence, of what happens when jealousy and control spiral into rage, of what happens when someone decides that if they can't have you, nobody can. But it's also a reminder that this situation was complicated, and that's what people are struggling with. Was that dance inappropriate? Many people think so. Should Zikoya have been more careful about public displays that could be misinterpreted? Maybe. Should she have shown him the phone? Some would say yes. But here's the truth that matters more than any of those questions. Nothing Zikoya did that night justified what happened to her. Nothing. Not the dance, not the phone refusal, not any of it. Because here's what Kenrod had that Zikoya didn't: a choice. When he saw that video, he had a choice. He could have walked away. He could have filed for divorce. He could have ended the marriage and started a new life. He had options. Instead, he chose violence. He chose to take a mother away from her children forever. He chose to leave 2 kids without either parent. And he chose to throw away his own life in the process. That's not passion. That's not love. That's murder. In the aftermath of this tragedy, advocates for domestic violence awareness have used Zikoya's case to stress the importance of recognizing the signs of control, manipulation, and abuse in relationships before it's too late. Jealousy and possessiveness, though often dismissed as signs of love, can be incredibly dangerous. Experts warn that small signs of control, like constantly checking a partner's phone, limiting their social interactions, or monitoring their every move, should never be ignored. These red flags can escalate into violence. Zikoya's case proves it. And here's what people need to understand. If you're in a relationship where you're walking on eggshells, where you're constantly worried about how your partner will react, where you feel like you can't be yourself without triggering their anger, you're in danger. It doesn't matter if they haven't hit you yet. It doesn't matter if they say they're only jealous because they love you so much. It doesn't matter if they promise to change. Those are warning signs. And they're warning you to get out before it's too late. So where does this leave us? Zikoya Johnson Echols was a devoted mother. That's undeniable. She loved her children with everything she had. She worked herself to exhaustion to give them a better life. Was she a perfect wife? Based on that dance video, based on how people reacted to it, maybe not. Maybe she made choices that disrespected her marriage. Maybe she crossed lines that shouldn't have been crossed. But imperfect people don't deserve to die. Mistakes don't justify murder. And jealousy doesn't give you the right to take someone's life. Kenrod Echols will likely spend the rest of his life in prison, and he should, because what he did was unforgivable. But the real tragedy? The children. The two kids who lost their mother to violence and their father to rage. The two kids who will grow up with this story, with these questions, with this pain. They didn't ask for any of this. They didn't deserve any of this. And they're the ones who will carry this burden for the rest of their lives. Zikoya's story may be over, but the conversation about domestic violence and its devastating effects continues. How do we recognize the signs before it's too late? How do we protect people who are living with jealous, controlling partners? How do we make sure that a dance at a lounge doesn't become a death sentence? If you're in an abusive relationship, or if you know someone who is, don't wait for things to escalate. Seek help. Talk to someone you trust. Make a plan to get out safely. Your life depends on it, just like Zikoya's DID. Rest in peace, Zikoya Johnson Echols. May your children find the strength to heal, and may your story save someone else from the same tragic fate.